Welcome back to my channel, Learn at Cloud Analytics. So, in today's video, we will be looking at one of the important DAX functions in Power BI, so which is a RANKX function. So, rank and RANKX functions are helpful to evaluate ranks based on the specific data. So these are specifically important when we try to compare the values to identify where the highest and the lowest values have been provided within the particular data set. So, for example, if we would like to find out which state has got the highest population or which state has the lowest population, we can use this rankx function to be applied on that particular table and find the individual ranks being assigned to it. So, in this way, finding out the analysis of highly populated states and the low populated states would be quite helpful and easy, right? So now let's see how do we create this or how do we evaluate this in Power BI by creating a measure. So for that, here in this specific example, we have connected to a superstore data set which has different columns in this data set. So now I'll just select this table and click on this three dots next to that and say new measure. So now we are trying to create a measure to find the ranks for the entire state-wise total sales value. So I'll just give the name of this measure as state ranks and write a DAX expression using RANKX, and I'll just say RANKX of so how do we like to evaluate it on the entire table? So our table name is orders to. So as you can see here, the moment I've selected this rankx function, Power BI would give this flexibility to see the syntax that needs to be applied on this function, and also it gives us an explanation of how this function would be applied and what is the purpose to it. So in this way, even if we are not aware of a specific tax function, we can easily identify how to write this particular function and the main purpose of that usage of that particular calculation. Okay, so here in this calculation, I'm trying to use this particular table. I'll just say orders to. So that is our table. And then we have to provide the expression based on which the rank has to be evaluated. So our expression is based on the total sales. So I'll just say total sales. And if the next one is the value, so value is just an optional, so I'll just leave it. And then if you need, you can provide the sort order based on how the rank should be computed. So I'll just give this as a descending and hit on enter. Okay, so now let's try to bring in this measure onto our table and see how the ranks are being assigned. So I'll just select the state ranks, and if you notice, the state ranks are being assigned individually for every state, regardless of the entire table. And this is not our intention, right? So, our intent is that based on the overall states and the sales values that we have, the ranks should be computed accordingly and provide us to help us identify the highest sales value which the state has got and the lowest state sales value. But here the state ranks are being computed on the row context. So which so in the other words, the rank is being calculated at an individual row level, and the data is getting filtered at every row, and therefore the ranks are being unique and applied across the table. So now let's get back to the calculation that we've created and try to see how we can fix this issue. So in order to avoid the row context being considered here, or the filtering to be applied at the row level, we would try to use another function called all. So I'll just remove this and use another function called all. So what does an all function does? So it will just ignore any filters that might have been applied on that particular table. And that is exactly what our intention is also, right? Because here the filters are being applied at the individual state, and therefore we'd like to ignore that particular filter applied at the state level. So now how do we do this? So as you can see, the syntax for the all expression, we would have to select that particular column based on which we would have to ignore the filters. So here it is the state, right? So we would have to select the state column and then specify the expression, which is the total sales, and we'll just hit on enter. So now, as you observe, the ranks have been appropriately applied according to the state-wise sales value, and this is exactly what our expected outcome is. Okay, so far this is going good, but now let's assume that there is another scenario, like we'd like to introduce an additional column onto this particular table, and those ranks should be evaluated accordingly. Now let's see how does this calculation function when we try to introduce an additional column into the existing table. So in this case, I'd like to bring in the city along with the state. So I'll just select the table and select the city and try to place this next to the state. Okay, so the moment I brought the city onto my table, the ranks are again back to normal, where it is just filtering the data at the individual row level. So therefore, we would have to go back to the existing calculation to avoid this filter to be applied, the filtering part that is considered at the individual row level, and try to evaluate it on the entire table. So now let's get back to the calculation, and since we've already knew that how to avoid or ignore the filter being applied at the row level, we'll try to bring in the same calculation but on the city column. So I'll just say based on the city and hit OK. But if you see, if we just apply both these filters or both these expressions together in this expression, we are getting an error where it says cannot display this visual. And this is exactly the reason why I said RANKX functions are a little tricky to evaluate and to apply it on a specific visualization. So therefore, we would have to be a little careful while we consider this particular DAX expression. So now let's try to correct this particular calculation. So why did this happen? Because we cannot have individually uh, these all expressions being evaluated on two separate columns together. Instead, we would have to use another function which would help us to join both these conditions together, based on which the rank has to be computed. And that function is nothing but the cross join. So now I'll use this cross join applied on this. Okay, so what I will do, I'll just put this on the other so that it is helpful to see see how this is being applied. So within this cross function, we would have to use both the all the filters being considered. So therefore, I will just say, okay, now hit on enter. And now if you observe, the ranks are correctly being applied accordingly. So this is how we can apply a rank function on an existing table and try to see how we can avoid the issues that comes when we introduce additional fields or columns onto the table. So I hope you understood this concept, and if you do like this video, please like, share and subscribe, and please do not forget to hit on the bell icon for additional notifications. Thank you.